Cheers, Metal Summoners. 6-year anniversary show is in the can. First episode of the brand new 6th year of TMS is right now. And myself, Steve, and Angel can't think of any better way to celebrate than throwing down some good times, some good tunes, a little travel stories, and a little bit of moonshine with our guest hanging out with us this evening. It's always a pleasure, Metal Summoners. The show is for you, and we really appreciate all of your continued support. It's your Island of Misfit Toys, myself, Angel, and our beloved Psycho Steve, fresh off his axe wound, healed up nicely. But we are really, really super stoked to jump into tonight's episode. We're going to have a little bit of fun. And like I said, it's going to be definitely going to be good times. You know, we're going to keep it flowing. We're going to keep it flirty. And we're going to bring the man in. We've got Worley. We've got Jackyl on the show for the first time. We have a member of Jackyl joining us. Jeff, first and foremost, thank you so much, sir, for some time this evening. And welcome to the Metal Summit.
Man, thanks for having me. And let me tell you something. That's one hell of a intro you guys have got there.
Right?
I am.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great, dude. This is awesome.
No, absolutely, for sure. It's absolutely our pleasure. First and foremost, it's still early into 2026. And of course, based on what you're allowed to talk about, how is the year shaping up so far for yourself as well as the Jackyl camp?
As far as touring, we've played 2 shows. We played one in January. It's kind of our start of the year kind of show. Because we played about, I'm guessing, somewhere between 80 and 100 last year, maybe something like that. In that vicinity. This year, though, I leave next Sunday for Los Angeles, and we do a West Coast run. And then I'll be coming back and forth. You know, we'll come in on a Sunday and stay till Tuesday, or maybe sometimes leave. It depends on the runs we do. We're kind of unconventional. We just don't go out on one big tour. We start next week, and we go to Santa Comes. Christmas.
Yes.
And you know, and we book that far in advance, and we have certain things we do because we do, like, you know, I'm not sure what everybody knows about us, but we do a lot of biker stuff. We did a TV show that was centered around the bike community and our buddy's bar and a Full Throttle Saloon. So that became something that gave us another outlet. So we do a lot of that stuff and regular touring around it. So we kind of just take off and come home and take off and come home. It just don't never end. You know, always on tour. We have a shirt that says always on tour. That's how we look at it, you know. Then we'll take a break for a minute, you know. Except for Jesse. He never takes a break.
Never takes a break. No.
Never. Never sleeps, nothing. It's never is this Energizer Bunny. But, you know, I have to come home for a minute and chill out.
Yeah.
And after about 3 weeks, I am jonesing to get on stage. It's like, I'll tell you, December 16th of this year, I was never going to play again. And I couldn't wait to 2 weeks later. I was like, I played all I want to play. I'm done. But, you know, it's in my blood. And this, what me and my brother's always done, and everybody in Jackyl, Roman, and Jesse. But, yeah, so then we just go out and we do the West Coast. And then we got to come out and make up some shows that the snow that we were talking before the show started, how down south, I'm at home now in South Carolina, but yes, we freak out when the snow comes. Right. I don't think we would treat a nuclear disaster the way we treat a snow warning. Right. Everything's bought in the grocery store. I mean, it is like, and then it comes and then it melts in a day, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's so much like that in Maryland. It's so very much like that. Everything's just gone. Like the bread aisle is completely gone. All the milk is gone. I'm like, what is it about these like snowstorms or these snow threats that make people obsessed over like milk sandwiches? And that just seems to be what everybody has to buy.
Okay, if it was up to me, I can understand the milk, but the bread, no. Captain Crunch, yes.
Oh yeah.
Right? Okay. The cereal aisle, you know, but I don't forgot. I done got off course with cereal. We're talking about. I only get to eat it once a year because I have to stay in shape to do this crap.
We were talking about snowstorm and what we would hit up in the grocery store.
Yeah, so anyway, down here it's warm, but we've toured everywhere where there's snow, and I mean I could get used to it a minute, but I'm used to outside a lot, and I'm kind of a fitness nut a little bit. So in the summer, in this time of year, I can get off the bus. I do my cardio in the morning. As soon as the bus stops, I get off and go before anybody gets up and starts any kind of crap, right? So I get that done. Then we go train later at the gym, but I get that done. But in the wintertime, I can't do it for some reason because it's just I'm scared I'm going to get sick. There is no, and my kids are musicians and they're learning now. And for Daddy, it's done it for 30-something years. There is no, the show must go on, as Freddie said.
Yes.
There is no break, dude. I played 3 nights with COVID in 2019, November, before they called it COVID.
Oh.
I played 3 nights. I don't remember it. I drank a bottle of tequila and a bottle of not Vicks Vapor Rub. That's that crap. It's blue NyQuil.
Oh, NyQuil, yeah.
Yes. And then I knew something was coming, and we managed to get 4 shows in 2020. But so anyway, I like this summer. I'd rather sweat than freeze.
Amen.
But now on the tour bus, we keep it cold in the back is my bedroom. I keep it in the daytime. The minute I get up, I open the windows. I want heat. Mm-hmm. Okay, when I get ready to lay down, after I come off stage, I shut that crap up and hit about 62 and let it start making icicles, and then I can sleep. And it's just a repeat of that, Groundhog Day, as we call on the road. It's just kind of the same. And it's repeating.
Yep. On the side, it can be freezing. It can be super duper cold in my house, and I'm good to go. I can't get a lick of sleep if it's hot. So I definitely understand that. I mean, my lady is way more into that warm weather all the time because she's a summer goth. Like she likes the whole shorts and tanks and being on the beach and pools and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, man, I'm like a traditional goth. I want dark and thunderstorms and shade and things that aren't wet. I'm all about dark and dank.
My problem is when I come home, I'm on 2 kind of sleep schedule things. I'm on road schedule and home schedule. And home schedule is more quiet and peaceful. But you got to understand, when I'm on the road on that bus, when it hits the road, we call time travel. And I sleep, and I mean, you guys in Jersey and whatnot need to fix them roads. Because I have lifted up in the air from a dead parallel laying down on the bed in the back to my feet straight up in the air and just said, what in the hell just happened? But and I got to come home and I can't do that. And I have a fan, even though it's cold in the back, I have a fan. And my wife, I can't find her. We're good. We use the bed for what it's supposed to be used for. But when it comes sleepy time, she builds a wall between us. I'm gonna make an invention out of a piece of plywood. It comes down. It's called the sleep wall. You just pull it down like a damn garage door and go to sleep. Raise it back up. Good morning, honey. But it's that kind of thing. But I've done it so long. We don't, our family, and now 30 years in, which is a miracle. 30-something years more than that if you count the days we played for nothing in Grammy little bars.
Yeah.
But our family, people ask me all the time, how does your family react to what you do? But they don't really know no different, And we didn't come from a musical family, like I mentioned, more military family, except for one guy that turned us on to music in our family, one of our uncles. And other than that, you just have to learn. We we were built for it from birth because of the hardship of having to do that. Because I didn't have no money. When I didn't have a bed as a kid. We had mattresses, and they're no different. Way out in the woods, me and my brother, we were hidden away from everything out in the woods of South Carolina. It's a trip.
Oh yeah. No, for sure, man. Yeah, when you're just kind of in that sleep schedule and you're just kind of like lying down. I was like, I can picture this now. You just like, you just pull down the wall, just pull down the shutter or whatever, just be like, I love you, baby, but we're gonna be together alone. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but she's tough. Like I said, my wife's from New York, and she's a different kind of tough, and she's Italian. So,
Uh-oh.
we have a perfect relationship. I don't get in her lane, she don't get in mine. We good to go. So.
How many years you been married?
June 16th will be 29 years. Sorry.
oh,
God
wow.
bless. Congratulations.
That's awesome, man.
But now, when I met her, she was really, really young, and she came to a show with her friend that wanted to meet my brother. So she came, and she didn't even like our kind of music. Jackyl, it's before we were signed, right when we were signed, first record deal. And she didn't like it. She didn't get it. Bunch of Longhorns sweating, screaming, Jesse up there raising hell with his pants off, chainsaw. We're basically been misunderstood. We're a punk band that's kind of southern and hard, But but then we met, and then that was that, and I took the worry off of that so I could concentrate on my career, and
Absolutely, 100%. But a person who we never feel we ever want to be together alone from, our beloved Psycho Steve. My good man, take it away.
All right, I have to ask, how did the name Jackyl come about? Because there was, back in the day in New York, Tony Harnell of TNT, believe it or not, had a band called Jackyl as well. So,
okay,
and you don't mention it in the book, so that's why I had to ask you.
Know that. I'm not sure. It's very simple. One of my favorite movies. Now this is divine. As silly as this may sound now, I'm going to tell you why this is divine, or the band name I chose. First off, I drew the logo you see in the 9th grade.
Okay.
So the concept basically of the band I had before I had the band. I had me and my brother, and then I would draw this massive. He still won't get 7 bass drums like I used to draw in high school, but that's stupid. But anyway, I used to draw these things, and I kind of had to reverse engineer the band. I had everything I needed, except we had to learn how to play something. So then that was the struggle after that. But one of my favorite movies was the Omen, and then you get to the Omen 2. And when you find out that Damien's mother was a Jackyl. Now let's stop there. I didn't know that yet. My first band name was Damien. So much so that we had jackets made and everything, and we were starting the band, me and my brother. He was like in the 7th or 6th grade, whatever. And then I found out a band from New York was Damien. So I was like, and that never just happened. And then I went back and I saw Omen 2, Crack the Mother. And I thought, no, wait a minute. And I'd also been watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Not just one thing, 2. And I chose that. And I thought, that sounds good. And immediately, because once again, I come from a time with no computers or anything, and I had to read, because me and my brother grew up in the woods. When I was about in the 5th grade, I read the encyclopedia from A to Z. So I knew what a Jackyl was, but I knew it was spelled with a different A. So I went and looked at that, and I was like, holy moly. One of the definitions was a band of dogs from Africa that travel in a pack and live off the land. And I thought, well, hell, that's a band. And what I call a band, right? You get out there and play, you learn the ropes, you live off the land. And then 2 of my favorite albums came out in history. The first time I heard it mentioned was Heaven and Hell, which is one of my top #1 album cover in Jeff Worley's life period. And one of the top albums in the 5, I have a little shuffle. That first song, Neon Nights, he says, waiting like jackals. He says, Jackals of the Street. Right? Are you familiar?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's put the pin there. My second favorite album that rotates, British Steel. In a song called Stealer, Rob says, waiting like jackals to sneak up and trick you. Gang, gang, bam. God had talked to me, and that was that. But I didn't like that second A.
Okay.
I couldn't put the little English shirts and stuff.
Right.
So I just changed that to a Y, and the rest was history. And then I did all the original artwork. Me and Jimmy, the original guitar player, did the first shirt, but I did the original thing. And then the one you see that we've kept predominantly was once we got to Geffen, I had use of the art department and we tightened it up, into what it is now. But if I went back years later, I could save $200,000 fooling with that shit and do it on my own computer right here in about 15 minutes, right?
Right.
But you live and learn, right? That's a while back. But that's how that came about, and the rest was history.
Wow. Awesome.
We just stuck with it.
Very cool. Because I don't know if you knew Tony Harnell had a band called Jackyl in New York.
I know this. One time I came in a club in Greenville, South Carolina, and I caught a dude writing slackle on the door, and I knocked his brains out. All right. But then I had a beer with him. We've been friends ever since.
Sweet.
So that was us. There was a lot of Tombstone involved in the early days of Jackyl.
Great
Yeah,
movie.
that's that. It was kind of like that, and it just kind of progressed, and we didn't look back.
Yeah. Nice. Angel?
Man, I just want to say thank you for being on. It's been a long fucking time. Too long since we've had a member of Jackyl, because my brother liked rap music, but he loved the Lumberjack song.
Okay. That song was never planned. No matter what people think, we've got the bad rap on that. It just kind of took off, not that I know. Now, Jesse may come on and say he was planning it since birth. Right? He had done a little bit in the band he was in before we joined us. Just kind of messing with it because his dad was a biker and they were messing around with it. But when he joined us, we started doing it just in the bar at night. Because in those days, my son and Jesse James Worley and Nigel Dupree, Dupree's son, are in a band together now called Nigel and the Heat. They're learning the hard way. My daughter's also a singer. She's 19. I'm trying to talk them out of it as hard as possible. That's the only way I'll know if they really want to do it. Because you better load those 2 hours on stage, because that's what you get, right? But anyway, once again, I forgot what I was telling you. You had asked me about I don't know, it's 9:30. You said realize my South Carolina bedtime's 8.
I was telling you how much my brother and I enjoyed the Lumberjack song.
No music to it. Okay, that's what it was. So finally we was like, you know what? Let's at least play A, like a regular stupid dun 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 dun. And it literally is in tune live, the chainsaws. We use on steels now. For years it was this Johnson Red Swedish company that sponsored us. But yeah, so we kind of put that music to it, but there was never any lyrics in my mind until we got to Los Angeles with John Colodner, who signed us to Geffen, and with Brendan O'Brien producing the first record. And that we had it was kind of like Once Down on Me and I Stand Alone, Dirty Little Mind, and When Will It Rain were recorded. John basically said, and you don't really hear this, especially in those days, yet now y'all can record what you want. So we did, but he come in and said, where's the chainsaw song? And we was like, really? And he's like, yeah, or maybe it was at pre-production. And then he told Jesse to write lyrics. It took, in my mind, a minute and a half. And then the first single, to fast forward, the first single was I Stand Alone. And if you've seen that video, we blow up our old van, and you can watch it on YouTube. That's a whole story in itself. And we a radio station, and I'm telling you, we were probably minutes from being dropped. And a radio station in Portland, Oregon started playing it. And then we went through like Canada and up north, and it was like lumberjacks calling in. And then that thing led to another thing. And then boom, bam, boom, bam, bam. All of a sudden, something we never planned. It's like, and then over the years, I've heard people, especially guitar players, like, you went out and didn't play lead. No, dummy. We won the lottery and didn't even get a scratch-off ticket. Okay? It just happened. You don't say no, But it's stuck. We play that thing every night. We never expect it. And we don't care. We do it at the end of the night. We bring out the chainsaw a couple of times in songs. We have Cut the Crap song in our set. So it's, and we have several things, and we don't shy away from it, but it was never strategically planned. It was a weirdest accident in history. If that answers any other question. And then,
no, it does. It was just kind of crazy because my brother was into like the rap music, but then when he heard the song, he was like, "This sounds cool." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a cool fucking song."
No, I get it. We have people from the old term 8 to 80 that just latched onto that song. But now once they come to the show and get the full thing, because that's what we are. You know, in my opinion, I know millions of artists say this. I don't think we've really. There's a couple of times we've come kind of close, reached what we do live, because it's such the closest thing, and not that we're any kind of size of these guys or nothing. I'm not comparison. Only one way. Stones and Guns N' Roses and us are three-way the same. At any second, this shit can go sideways quickly. That's the way Jesse runs the show. Me and Chris and Roman are kind of keeping, because you never know what's going to happen. Same with Guns N' Roses, same with the Stones. Some nights we're impeccable. I can tell you right now, the best shows we ever played is in the smallest little dump town on a Monday night. We get the best band ever played in life. You go to that Saturday night when it's packed, we're looking at each other like, "Where did you come from?" What night is this? You know? But I've been sober for 3 years. I was 3 years New Year's Eve.
Congrats.
And, yeah, let me tell you, I did that for you guys' sake, so I could leave some for my other brothers to drink, because it, you know. But I turned to the guys after I sobered up, and I was like, "Man, I feel a lot better, baby." Blah blah blah. And I said, "But I have to tell you, 2 years into this sobriety, I realized I'd been drunk so long I attached my wagon to you three horses, and it ain't worth a shit." Now I'm thinking, what did I do to myself? No, but they're my brothers. It literally is my brother, you know. And then we've all been, Jesse and Chris has been together for 35 years. And then Roman's been in the band longer than Tom and Jimmy, who were on the first two records. If you're looking back, Tom Bettini, Jimmy Stiff, Roman came in 2000. They were on in the band 8 years. So,
right.
You know, so we're kind of two original bands, but with two different members. You know, we just didn't get another guitar player. You know, Jesse always wanted to play guitar. Okay, you play guitar. And we liked how the accounting went with that one missing fella. You know, we got to pay them out of royalties, but still alive in our partnership. And then, you know, after they quit, we took a year off. And I can say this with all certainty. I know you've seen The Dirt, the Motley Crue movie.
Of course.
It even in the same ballpark as what all was going on at that time in our camp. Okay. And then they saved their lives, and God bless them. And I still see Jimmy, Tom I hadn't seen. And we moved on, and we took a year off. And Roman Glick, who plays bass in Jackyl now, he played for Brother Kane.
Right.
You remember?
Oh yeah, with Damon.
Hey, Damon. Right, Damon's band.
Damon, he played with Damon. And you know, they were opening for us when they had the hit songs. They were opening for us. They had the hit songs, but the stupid Lumberjack was selling 15,000 copies in town a week, right? So they were opening for us. We had been pushed around. We're not pushed around, but we had came out and opened for Aerosmith, and they had a stage the size of a football stadium, and we were on the first 3 feet. You know, and we learned the way. So we in return thought we had to return that favor, and they'd get out and his little, you know, and then Roman hated us. And I didn't think nothing about him ever being in the band. And then our off year, Jesse did a solo record and kind of run into Roman to play bass on it. So we would make it a pact. A year after Tom and Jimmy quit, we would get back together and see where we stand on filling their shoes, because we had done a lot. And, as we called up, Jesse called me up a year to the day too, pretty much. "Hey, listen, yeah, because this is how our life works tonight. Hey, man, listen. No matter what time it is, do that too. It could be 3 a.m. Hey, man, listen. Now hear me out. I think I got somebody to play bass." I said, "Well, who?" He goes, "Well, where's Chris at?" That's what he was doing. He don't live with me, but I'll get him at the phone. Right? And that's how our business works. That's how long we've been together.
Call him from the other room.
Yeah. And then he told us it was wrong. And he was like, really? He hates us. But we showed up. I asked him what he knew. I said, hey, man, how you doing? Hey. And I asked him, this is 26 years ago. I said, well, do you know any of these songs? And he went, no. Impressed right off the bat. He didn't lie. I said, well, hang on to E. And we played our song Redneck Punk. And he made it through it. And it was just, once again, sent from God, as I like to say. And that was that. One tryout, one hit, and we didn't even hire him. We made him a full quarter member, and off we went.
Wow.
And then Jackyl played guitar and sing for about 2 years, and we had the worst train wrecks in human history. It was like we learned to pull off our Rat Packs. You know, you learn to screw up and get away with it. You're there. That's it. The show's yours, you know. It's we don't like that tension. We just go, you know.
Awesome.
And keep it simple. We don't sound check. Every now and then, if we're filming something, otherwise, in our world, we have our own monitors. They're set every day. You don't have to mess with my amps because I play on 10 no matter what size the building.
Dang.
All right. Jesse does too. You know, when he joined the band, he said, I'll join the band under 2 circumstances. This is my 2 rules. All right, hit me with them. This is us way back in the day. First off, I don't want to fuck around. I said, all right, I can buy that. Me neither. He said, number 2, I'm going to need you 2 guitar players to turn wide open. And I said, we can do that too. We're in. So off we go. You hear the opposite, you know, the turning down. No, we turn wide open. We don't care. And that's why I'm so deaf. That was it. And that's us. And then we took off to get a record deal. It's kind of simple.
Yeah, just gotta ask, what was it like working with John Kalotner?
Incredible and crazy. First, you got to realize, and I'll kind of keep this tight. We drove in a van from Atlanta, Georgia. We couldn't get noticed around Atlanta, even though we were selling out big places like the Center Stage and Cannery and Nashville, but everybody felt grunge coming. Jason Flom from Atlantic came to see us and said, y'all, you're one of the best bands I've ever seen. And I'd love to sign you, but I have no idea what I'd do with you. Okay. So there it is. And then we drove in a van and we drove out to Los Angeles to play the scene, and we had some showcases set up. We lived in South Central, close to that. 11 of us in a hotel room. That's a whole different story. But we played and couldn't get the people to come around. We could see the record company from the gigs, but they wouldn't come across the street. So we got down to our last enough money to get back to Atlanta. Drove by the Grand Canyon to smoke our last joint. I figured that was a good stopping point. Headed back to Atlanta, and a week later, John Kalotner flew with our lawyer to see us in an old theater in Georgia. It was close to Atlanta. And then our lawyer, and let me put this in kind of like Andy and Barney type situation. He was real fired up that Kalotner's coming. He's our lawyer, right? But he came in and he told us, John's going to come tonight. I'm picking him up at the airport. He'll probably just stay a couple of songs and he'll call us, right? Well, we waited. Now, this place, it was like a theater. So you had the seats out. The stage is where the movie screen would be, indoor theater. Stage set up, empty out, big club bar. And where the theater, where the projector would be, is where the dressing room was. So we could see. And you know the exit down front in a regular theater, people will come in free down there. That was their front door. So we watched everybody come in. And then if you know Kalotner, you've seen him, he wears those white suits back in the day. He's John with the white suit. There he was, our lawyer in his regular stuff. And there was Kalotner standing out like a sore thumb. We thought, holy moly. And he immediately come back and looked at us. He looks you over too, let me tell you. You know how girls in modeling talk about being looked over. That's how John looked at us from top to the bottom to the top. And then we started playing. There's way more to that night, but we stayed into the set, and John stood right down front with a place that was sold out. People screaming at him. He pulled out this book that he had made all those records in. He went to our page. He wrote down the songs. He wrote down what he thought. You got to imagine, I'm playing for my life, but I'm still trying to be cool and cool understanding. He's standing dead in front of Jesse's mic, but he's like methodical. He looked straight at me for like a song. And then Jesse. And then he went about 6 inches left of Jesse and looked at my brother Chris. And then he looked at Tom and Jimmy. He went and he got everybody's deal. I didn't realize how methodically correct, till later, everything he did was looking at us. He had everybody down. And then remember I told you that our lawyer said he had called us. He stayed the entire show. He came back immediately and come in and said, I'm signing you, like he talks. And Jesse said, when we talked to him, he went around and said, he grabbed him. He pinched Jesse on the side and said, lose 10. And then he went around and told everybody what to do. He went to my brother and said, learn to play with a click track. And Chris said, I don't have no money for a click track. He said, you do now. And then got it out. We said, hey, our lawyer, now here comes the Barney Five. As soon as he said he signed you, he's tripping. Oh, golly. It's like, whoa, right? And God bless him for it. He was part of getting it. But and then as he went out, me and Jesse walked back up, and Jesse stuck his hand out to John. And I quote, Jesse said, John, thank you so much for coming to see us. You know, and we imagined Claudner signing us. It wasn't just random. We played a year, and Jesse would take our spotlight guy and get him to point out any guy in the crowd. If you were there, Steve, not to see us back in the day, Jesse would have pointed you out and said, there's John Claudner here to see us sign. I swear to God. So that's how everything was white. That's the way it is with us. And then John came and signed us, and that was it. But Jesse said, John, thank you for coming. And if we never see you again, we just appreciate you coming to see us. And Claudner looked Jesse dead in the eye and went, are you calling me a fucking liar? I said you're signed. I'll see you in the morning. And we signed on a Sunday morning at a pizza kitchen at the mall in Atlanta, Georgia, Buckhead Mall.
Wow.
Pretty fast. I think we're the fastest signing in Geffen history because he just didn't want to get, he just wanted to make sure there wasn't nobody else out there. And then he put us with Brendan O'Brien doing our first record. But we had to play. Now, he signed us to a deal, but part of the stipulation, and it was big and it was great, but part of the stipulation is we had to play another 8 months, 6 nights a week to 3 sets a night, a regular thing, because we had to wait for Brendan to finish, not Stone Temple's first record, somebody Brendan produced right before he did us in Stone Temple Pilots. Brendan O'Brien, the producer. So we had to wait on Brendan. So anyway, we had to play 3 sets, and we couldn't tell anybody. So I had these guys in these bands in them days going, if y'all keep trying, you may get a record. I just wanted to go, if I could get my hands on your neck and tell you what I've already got. But we did, and it made it. That's why when we got to do our record, what you hear on pretty much all the Jackyl records, but what you hear is pretty much the live playthrough, be overdub vocals some, and then some overdub leads, but other than that, it's just the tracks because we just played them so much. If you take the first Jackyl record, and we're guessing now 4 million, right? If you turn it around, that was our original set the night John saw us. Period. So much so that when we got through recording all of that, he says, what else you got? We go, nothing. He went, nothing. Yeah. Anyway, and then we lived and learned and moved on up from there. But, we didn't expect. We knew we would do good because we had a lot of people on our side. Ted Nugent, and Ted helped us a lot. Ted took us out before we got signed, and we did the Whiplash Bash, and he gave us a lot of great advice that business advice, pretty much the big guys, between Gene Simmons and Ted Nugent and the people that kind of mentored us a little bit, the big boys, that we were just kind of, and Billy Gibbons, they just basically told us, you can't get any poorer, so don't take nothing from nobody. If it comes, it'll be all yours. Okay. Take no advances. We never got tour support, if y'all know what that is.
Yeah.
No. We had a gold record, we're still in the van. And we went from that to a damn bus that had a gear shift lever. When we opened for Kiss, we played, I think it was a couple of shows for Kiss. Right before our record came out, it was still in the pipe. And we pulled up in a bus where Paul and Gene had laughed outside. Maybe our record was out, yeah. But Paul and Gene was laughing, looking at our bus driver pull that thing in there. It's like driving in a pulpwood truck. Then the big black killer was there. But
dude, that's crazy. Was that back when Brendan was...
you don't get it or
yeah.
Anything you don't earn just looks rich. It just makes you look like you got something. And it's not really happening,
Oh, for sure. Was that also back when Brendan was producing for Soundgarden?
It would have been in that area.
Right in that area where he was doing like the Stone Temple Pilot thing, and
he did us. Brendan, the first Jackyl record was Brendan's first gold record.
First gold record. Oh,
wow!
He engineered the first Black Crowes record.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he engineered and maybe did a little producing on the second Black Crowes record. And then he was juggling between us and Stone Temple there for a minute, but he ended up doing Pearl Jam and everybody. Brendan's huge.
Yeah.
Brendan's the best.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was doing Pearl Jam. He was doing like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I know he did. I know at one point he got. I'm a big fan of the Offspring. I think they're great. I know Brendan had worked with them at one point, and if I remember correctly, I think he did some work with AC/DC also.
Yes, he did. He did because we're good friends with them and Brian. But yes, Brendan's good. Brendan is the. First off, let me tell you something about Brendan O'Brien. He's the best guitar player in the world.
Oh, wow.
Here's not only a lot of the leads you've heard on, especially on Black Crowes and stuff, that's Brendan. They can't play. They could. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not mean to disparage him, but Brendan played a lot. He played. If you hear ours Down on Me, most of those background vocals is me and Chris, and Jesse and Brendan. And you hear him. Well, that's why when we hear some Chili Peppers songs, we know the ones Brendan produced because it's just what he is. He's kind of the anti-producer. He's more or less. He takes away more than says a bunch of stuff. He's like, he was especially heavy-handed on my brother on the first record because we come from Chris double based on Brendan says, what? Save it for one space and it means more. That kind of thing in songwriting, and he was instrumental. And we were Bruce Fairbairn on the second record.
Oh, okay.
He was like going in with Stephen Hawking. He was a horn player and stuff, and we're still just a stupid rock band, right? But he had done Bon Jovi, and he was that guy. He was the stack up stuff guy. We had to pull him down to our level as much as we could because we're still just what we are, and he's used to. We don't have no keyboards or nothing like that. We just two guitars, bass, drums, and then like AC/DC.
Dude, that's crazy, man. That's so cool, though, man. Like, and that's a really, really cool thing too, to be like the band involved, like a guy like Brendan getting like his first like gold record. Like, that's super cool.
It is, and I've always wanted to work with him again. But I get it. And then as years go by, you have a family, and you can only pick and choose what you do. And then we work with Mike Frazier. If you know who that is, he's done a bunch of stuff. You look him up. He produced the album we did, Cut the Crap, that we did Locked and Loaded, and Brian Johnson came in and sang on, if you're familiar with that song. Mm-hmm. If you have, go check that out. See, that's how we met. Brian came in. Brian came in to do one day with us, ended up spending a week. That's his house, and we just... he's my favorite rock star, Brian Johnson is.
That's so cool, man.
Hey, look, Brian would go out here and wouldn't take a motor out of this car.
Mm-hmm.
We can go on stage and rock, god dang, 80,000 people for 2 or 3 nights, right? Yeah. That's Brian Johnson. He can do World War II history, world history, all the way back to Roman times. He can sing like Frank Sinatra. Okay. It's just like, oh, you little god dang, I love you. And we just fell in love with him, and he's my favorite.
That's awesome. Dude, that's killer.
We just did our own. We did some stuff with Jude Cole, if you know that. He did Yellow Card. He he's kind of a famous producer on the pop side. We did a song with him called I don't know, man. Once it got as you move, I'm sorry. Did anyone else say we must aliens are landing in South Carolina or Maryland? One of the other. Heard. But yeah, and then we just produce ourselves. I mean, we learned until the point of, how much do you want to pay to work with somebody?
Yeah.
And what's it going to be worth? And we look at everything. We still play with passion, and we want to do new music, but today you can keep a record quiet forever.
Yeah.
It release it tomorrow morning at 8:00. Mm-hmm. By about noon, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
For some free, right? So music, the music is free. Everything's back to playing live. That's why you see a band or a brother getting back together, making bands, going out playing. It's all in the live show.
Absolutely. For sure, man. I got one more question in my segment before I kick it back over to Steve to take it away. And I wanted to bring it to your guys' Guinness records real quick. One of them in particular, because I just find it really interesting. But I also kind of wanted to hear what you remember about it with certain criterias, because I've, for anybody who's watched stuff that they've done where people go after like Guinness World Records and things like that, there's always like, there's certain like criteria that like have to be met. Like if you're going after this record, it has to be this type of thing done this kind of way, and so on and so forth. And the one I always found so interesting for you guys was the 21 concerts in 24 hours. And I was just curious to hear, what was the criteria? Like what were the requirements for it to be considered a concert? You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah, we had them. Okay. We chatted a bit of this before the show started, and I told you the bill we had at the end of it, and I'll say that again in a minute. Here's why. Okay, to the Guinness people, every show had to be a minimum of 15 minutes. Okay, it had to be 15 minutes. You could play 3 hours, you could play 16 minutes, but it had to be 15. And every show had to be a paying show. We had to be paid for it. There was no limit. It could be 1 cent, 1 million, right? And then it had to be for a different crowd, which means none of that mattered until later, okay? So that's why we did a thing with Walmart. We did a promotion with Walmart on a little EP we did called Staying Alive. And the thing was, we were going to pull in, we did radio stations in every town. They'd go on with the morning show. We had our bus. We had a tractor trailer with gear on it that just rolled up the side and you could play. PA system, whole 9 yards. A truck full of merchandise and other gear. And so we would, the morning show would start, tell everybody, and we'd announce it. Before you go to work, Jackyl's playing in the Walmart parking lot. The radio station would be the contractor, the show buyer, okay, to meet our criteria. And they would pay us, some of them, $50. That's all they had. They don't have no money. And we weren't charging nobody. So we wasn't like it. So now we're paying for all this, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. So we'd usually play about 30, 45 minutes because in Kansas City, we had so many people that shut down 4-lane highway. I mean, it was massive. Kids before school. We didn't take in consideration. We knew a bunch of people would show up, but we didn't really realize people that never heard of us, heck, let's go here before we go to work. So it caused this massive thing, right? But but that day, and then we'd play. Our road crew would roll that up. Then we had to go over to the building in town we're playing that night to make the money. And that's a 2-hour show. So on in about 3 weeks of it, if you want to know, and then we're meeting the criteria. But we've run shy of shows we don't want to. But just a radio station, and if I remember correctly, Abilene, Texas called, and they wanted to do a thing with us. They had a morning show, and they had a room that held about 80, 100 people. They said they could sell every show out. So we started on the morning show. played every 15 minutes, or maybe we played 15 minutes off, whatever we did. By the time we ended on the morning show, when they come back the next morning, it was every time there's a crowd come in. They did, I don't know how ever have it, 21 different crowds. We did 21 shows all night long. Let me tell you, in Abilene, Texas, the people that show up at 3 a.m, 4, Jesus Christ. I didn't have my money or nothing. But anyway, yeah, so that's how we did that. And then by the time we ended in Greenville, South Carolina, me and my brother's closest hometown, we did 105. And then we went through 5 tour buses. You know, we had, I don't want to use his name. He's a famous songwriter in Nashville. He was a bus driver in those days. We got his bus. It was beautiful. We had it in Charlotte, North Carolina. We thought this will work. It was about 15 shows in. It had showers. It was great. This is going to work for this thing. As he pulled off, he drug the oil pan out of it. Now we're back. It was like a never-ending folly, right? But here's what I remember most about it. It wasn't a bill. It wasn't. And then with our money we invested, we got 2 pieces of paper that's hanging in with my collection of other crap, right? But I wouldn't take nothing in the world from it. We had a ball. But I do remember this. It was summer. And playing those 2-a-days, by about the second week, my fingers had slits cut in them to the pink, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Guitar. That means before I went on stage at night, I'd fill them with super glue. Same thing they use in the military, Vietnam. It's basically all it is without the antiseptic. Now that would work about an hour in, but one of them would wedge out, and you go play lead on a high string, and it sets down in that hole. Oh man, it was like, oh God. And we wondered a few times, what the hell are we doing? But you know, it makes a hell of a story. And so I wanted to kill Jesse several times. But
so you
go ahead.
So you sent the car to hit him.
No. Did we tell that on the air? Was it? Were we going on this?
No. It's just the way. That's something that I could just see Jesse being so like aggressive about. Be like, yes, we're doing this. Go. Just all gas and no brakes.
I'll tell you this: our business kind of operates probably different than any other band in the world. We manage our sales. It cost us a ton of money, many zeros, to win back all of our management, everything we needed. And we did it a long time ago because we saw writing on the wall. We knew, you know, and Jesse's a great businessman. He's one of the, and he's anal about it. And you're not going to out phone call him, and you are not going to get up before he does. And you're not going to forget. He's not going to forget anything. I'm talking to any promoter, record, it don't matter. He don't forget. It's here. It's in, and he's not going to let it go. And that's why we made him in charge. But we basically manage ourselves. And when we make a decision, it's just us 4. And we'll either be together on the phone, and we'll go, Jeff, what's your vote? No matter if it's a gig, if it's whatever. If I say yes, Jeff, yes. Chris, yes. Roman, yes. Jesse, yes. If us 4 say yes, that is a bond that we've lived with for a long, long time. That when we get to whatever said thing is, we just decided. If it ends up being a pile of shit, we're going to act like it's the best thing that ever happened to us, and nobody's going to complain about it, and you're going to keep your mouth shut, and you're going to do what you said yes to, and then we're going to go home. You know, we don't play that. You made the decision. There's no pointing fingers. We do decisions together, and and then we just stick with it and have fun with it. You know, we're serious about what we do, but we know what we do ain't really worth doing in the big scheme of things, you know, in the world of God and the word of infinity, you know, but we're serious about what little thing we do. And we, you know, business wise, we're kind of like a mini mafia, chainsaw mafia. We kind of keep, we make a decision in our little inner circle, and we stick with it. You know, if it turns bad, it turns bad. You know,
absolutely.
Kind of, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. Steve, my friend, all you.
So speaking of the 4 of you making all the decisions. You said it briefly, and I want to gloss over that. You said something about, do you guys like own all your masters and everything, all the rights, publishing, everything is now yours now that you're not with Geffen and any other label because you're self-produced?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes and no. There's one record we want. It's the Sony record of Cut the Crowd. They discontinued it. We could have sold millions of that. They discontinued it on purpose because of a lawsuit. And we can't even get it. You can stream it. I think some songs off of it, but I think you stream the whole thing, and most of it's on YouTube. But what I mean is we can't get it back. That's the only one, but we own everything else yet. We finally got our Geffens back. Yes, it took forever. And in our day, you couldn't sue a record label. If we knew a record label screwed us in any way, if we audited them, old school, we could only hire an auditor that worked by the hour, not by the damn win. See, because they knew they would outrun us before we would run out of money before we could pay this dude by the hour to look through. It's like a lawyer for a million piles of paperwork and shit. We're going to run out of money. So they were tricky putting that in their contracts, I mean, that's old school stuff. We've seen it all. And once we got to our niche of what we were doing, we'll just do our own thing. And we knew live was when we'd be getting our, and I tell you that I'm going to say, a lot of we do a lot of merchandise. And let me tell you something. Rock Me, Roll Me, Jackyl Me Off has been very, very good to me. If you've ever seen that statement. Okay. And we didn't even come up with that. At our very first autograph session in a limousine, when our first record came out, record label thought it looked good. We were going to take actually a logging truck, like I said earlier. You know what a logging truck is? It has logs on the back. It's real rugged looking.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We were going to take that, but they were in a limousine. So we pull up. We did this record release in Atlanta. Big deal. People everywhere. Signed autographs. Whoop-de-doo. As we left, getting in that limo, I heard from across the parking lot some guy holler out, "Rock me, roll me, Jackyl me off." And I looked at Jesse and me and Chris, we all looked at each other and went, well, he just lost that. And I want to thank him wherever he is. I don't know who it is.
You're welcome.
And we've done it. It's been very good. Merchandise people love that saying on shirts and
right.
So.
The shirt you sent me, my fiance wears, by the way. That's her
I don't
favorite
know
shirt that she wears.
I called the office and said, hook him up, and I'll hook you boys up too.
Awesome. Please do. All right. Now, another question I have for you. I saw you with Aerosmith. I saw you with AC/DC back in the day. I'm sure you have some stories. Besides, and of course you saw, I think you did one show. I think I saw you with Kiss.
Yes. Well, where would that have been?
Either Atlanta or North Carolina.
It would have been South Carolina.
Okay, then South Carolina. I was like,
oh yeah, that's the night. I remember that gig like it was yesterday. That's the night. That's the only gig we. Okay, I'm not sure. What was your question? I'm sorry, but
I just want to know, like, out of those three bands, because those are, three of the biggest. They are like international. Like, when you think about it, you're like, oh my God, what are you thinking when you're just about to go on stage being direct support for freaking Aerosmith, for freaking Kiss? What goes through your mind?
Well, we were really cocky.
Yeah.
We were going to kick their ass, okay? Whether we did it or not, we don't know. But the night of the Kiss, I can tell you stuff about all three of them. Now the biggest tour we ever did, that would be what I would call the most, not debaucherous, a little of that, the wildest, no matter what anybody would think, was ZZ Top Antenna Tour. It was off the charts. Aerosmith wasn't even in the ballpark of these dudes in 1998. First off, you're playing every building, the biggest in town, 2 to 3 nights a week. They had 11 trucks. Okay. They had a busload of dancers. About 30 of them traveled every night. All right. It was a carnival. And and Billy told us we could play a night. Here's what the opening bands in arenas don't hear. Bring anything you want, and you can play for an hour. And he offered us an astronomical amount of money for the opening for a band. And we took it, and it was the best thing we ever did. Now, Aerosmith, though, we learned a lot. You know, that I'll give Aerosmith credit. That's the realest band in the world to have money. At any time, through any of the tours, by the time we did what we did in the 90s with them, they were already back to each guy was well enough off to tell the other guy that where he can go. Okay? If something bad goes wrong. All right? And they are real. And I'll tell you, this is Aerosmith, and it is a nutshell. When we started on day one, we had to play 2 nights in a beer joint to stay in town in Des Moines, Iowa, I think, because that's where their tour started. So they practiced 2 nights, and we were going to open the 3rd night.
Wow.
See, you pay them. Malcolm's was straight up. Huh?
I remember that. It was during the Pump tour, I think, right? The Pump tour.
What, ours?
Yeah, no. For Aerosmith, you were doing their album.
Yeah.
They were doing support for Pump, right?
And that was Get a Grip, I think.
We did 3 weeks. Okay. They gave Guns N' Roses 3 weeks, Black Crowes for 3 weeks. When our album came out, because it was on Geffen, and John did them, right? John was with Aerosmith. He brought them back from the dead. We did 3 weeks with them. And then Megadeth came. And Joe heard Dave say something. That night we got home, we had a 3-month headlining tour that every show was sold out. Because Push Comes to Shove was about to come out. All right. That night at 3 in the morning, Jesse called me and said, "You ain't going to guess who called." I said, "Who?" He said, "Steven Tyler." That had been the 2nd time, not a manager, not a booking agent, the actual guy had called, and Steven comes and said, "We want y'all to finish it. Can you get to Lubbock?" So I had to leave home at 3 in the morning. Me and my brother drive to Atlanta Airport. Our gear started heading that way. We had to cancel all this stuff. We showed up, and we had come to find out that they didn't even tell Megadeth. Megadeth was at Denny's the next morning, and the waitress said, "Y'all must be Jackyl." And they went, "No, we're Megadeth." And they went, "Well, I don't know what y'all doing here because we just heard Jackyl's opening, and y'all are fired." That's how Dave and Ellefson found out.
Wow. That's awesome.
You know? So we show up.
Oh my God.
20,000 people, and they ain't no gas in the chainsaw, so Jesse has to use it manually. So you got 20,000 people rolling with laughter, but not at you, with you, okay?
Right.
And that's one of the nights that we started coming onto our own. Now, wait a minute. This ain't about being perfect. This is about entertainment for us. You know, we're not virtuosos. We're entertainers. We ain't no different than the Rat Pack. We're Sesame Street, but we're serious about it, right? And you ain't gonna get no louder than our Sesame. We entertain. You know, that's what we come from. Those bands. Now Aerosmith, after that we did all kind of stuff. It was every night with them. They don't play every night, so we had to supplement. They'd play, they're not an every night player. ZZ Top played about 4 or 5. Now, we did the Damn Yankees tour of their 2nd record. That was 8-9 months of 6 nights a week,
Wow.
And that was, with Tommy and Jack, Tommy from Styx, Tommy Shaw, Jack Blades and Ted.
Excellent band. And what's his name? Michael something on drums. I can't think of his name.
Michael, he plays for Skinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great tour. We had fun. Ted took us under his wing. Ted was 24/7. Ted would come in our dressing room and take a nap in his robe. I seen more of Ted than anybody needs to see. Let me tell you about Ted Nugent. That is my friend, and I love Ted. Right behind me, I have my White Master bow. You see right behind me between the cabinets?
Yes.
That's from Ted. Funny thing is, Ted hooked that tour. Ted hooked us. He come backstage and said, "I'm hooking y'all up with the whole smear, right? White Master bow, bang, bing, bang, glove, hang, ball, boo, boo," and goddamn it showed up and packaged for all 4 of us in the band. And then about a week later, Jesse called and goes, "You ain't gonna believe this. Ted just sent us the bill."
Damn.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he sent a bill for it. After he said, "I'm gonna hook y'all up," right? But then Jesse called and said, "Man, we can't afford this." He went, "What are you talking about?" It was a mistake. His office had sent it, but we're like, "Yeah, we ain't got 10 grand for no bow and arrows." Ted was instrumental, and when we got to Los Angeles to record our first record, it was in a studio called Rumbo Recorders, which was owned by the Captain and Tennille, the band from the 70s.
Wow.
And as we came in, Ted and the Damn Yankees was up in one room. It's 3 rooms and a communal kitchen. And Ted was up doing overdubs and finishing the second Damn Yankees record. We were doing our first record right here. But right over here was the Traveling Wilburys, which is Jeff Lynne from ELO, one of my heroes.
Yes.
Is my hero. George Harrison.
Roy Orbison.
Tom
Petty.
Petty.
Yes.
And let me see who else was in them. Is that everybody?
Jeff
Yeah.
Lynne?
Several
Jeff
things I remember, guys.
Yeah, Jeff Lynne. Yeah.
Brendan had told us no drugs. Drugs, I'm out. We're like, okay, fine. Whatever. We didn't do drugs. We smoked pot. Right? So the first day we come in, I'm like, I want you to know, dude, I ain't smoking no pot. This shit's thick. It was them dudes. Tom Petty and them were lit to the sky off in there. And they wasn't old then. They seemed old, but they were in their 40s, right? And then Brendan told me the famous, I didn't mean, this is how naive we were to the LA scene, right? He goes, I didn't mean pot. I don't give a shit how much pot you smoke. He goes, I'm talking about heroin. I goes, we ain't gonna do no damn heroin. I'd kill these somebody did heroin. We're gonna make a life doing that shit. But Ted showed up, and we'd been playing with Ted before we were signed. He helped us get signed. And then one day, and we were already getting in trouble because Coloner came in and said he wanted us to do the Lumberjack. And we protested at first because it was stupid. Okay? And then he got us into it. But Jesse made this stand that only we would do it if he would bring hay, if we could get bales of hay and chickens and roosters into the studio. Now, do you know how in Los Angeles how damn hard it is to find a chicken that ain't frozen? Right? Luckily, a buddy of ours, his dad or uncle or somebody lived in Bakersfield, which is a farming community. He went off down there and he came back. Hey, no problem. We went into this $1 million studio that right now you can see it on an Allstate commercial. The guy's playing piano. The chicken's shit in that piano. But anyway, we spread it everywhere. But now we had a problem that even LA, that we in Georgia, it frowned upon, is he could only find one rooster, which was a mean little son of a bitch. He found about 3 regular hens and about 4 or 5 of these things called a guinea hen. Do y'all know anybody familiar with that term?
Yeah, I've eaten them. I've eaten them.
Well, what is it? It looks like a dinosaur. It looks like a miniature emu. It's got a real round, ugly back. Anyway, coming with them, and we had miscalculated what we've always messed up on with chickens is the shitting part. We forgot they produced a lot of crap. So they started crapping in this $1 million studio, dude. Not only did they crap in the piano, into the wires of it, okay? So when you listen to that song, at the end, you'll hear Jesse hollering at them chickens. When we left, we just left them, right? We were paid us this astronomical cleanup fee, and PETA was worried about it. So they come and got the chickens. We tried to give the chickens to the executives at Geffen Records, but none of them would take them. So, you know.
All for rock and roll.
They sell live vision.
They missed one of them, one of those guinea things. And it stayed in the roof of that studio for about a year and then flew out on somebody while they were recording years later, or months later. But yes, that's how that came about.
Wow.
And we had a phone call. After that, the shit hit the fan, right? And then we had a phone call. So before cell phones were just coming, Jesse had one of them big ones.
Brick
and
phone.
Claudia called and put us on a thing. And this guy, the president of Geffen Records, was calling, Eddie. And he called, and his name was Eddie Rosenblatt. And we knew we'd been in Los Angeles for about 7 days on a major record deal. We've already made it further than we ever thought we would because we knew this was it. This phone call was going to bring this shit to a close. So he called and Claudner was on there. Hey, he wants to talk to you. And we thought, oh, God. And we were sitting around in there. He went, listen, guys, I just want you to know that all shit's hit the fan. They calling, chickens are shitting everywhere. But I want y'all to know one thing. I want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing. This is brilliant. But make me a good record. So they were all behind. But we didn't know 2 years later we had to pay all those bills. So after double, triple platinum, you get a check for $5. Now you know why. Yeah. So you better have a sense of humor, and enjoy those 2 hours on stage.
Yeah.
Like I said. So goes it.
Gotcha. Angel.
Definitely got some fan questions.
On hell. Absolutely.
You've been asked almost everything. What is the most embarrassing thing that's occurred musically that you're willing to tell?
More than likely the set we're going to be playing next week. Because like I said before, we don't rehearse or do sound checks. With the first 2 songs, you do rehearsal and sound check all at the same time. We've had a sound check party. No, let me think. The most... Well, if I gave a shit, I could answer that. Okay? I don't know what to say. I'm only human. I'm not embarrassed by it. Nothing. Now, I've been embarrassed by stuff other than musically. My pants fell off once. And then, what else? Oh, and because I was talking about Jesse won't cancel the show no matter what. He had laryngitis. Now, this was embarrassing and kind of heroic. It was embarrassing. Let me put it this way. If you ever had to be embarrassed, you would have chose this one. Okay? He couldn't sing a note before the show. And I said, we got to cancel the show. What the hell's the matter with you? His throat was swollen up. I ain't stopping. Because according to talking to him, I'm calling him the P word, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And he'll start off to you. All right? What are you calling? What are you trying to say? Dude, chill. Man, you can't talk. I'm playing. But the second our intro started, he killed a bottle of Jim Beam from the top to the bottom and couldn't sing a word. He rolled around for an hour. And we just continued with the set. And here's the irony of it. Us three were flawless, but not a lyric was coming through. It was like everybody, and we didn't know it, but later after the show, his brother took him to the emergency room immediately, and he could have died if he hadn't went because his throat swollen to the point he couldn't breathe. Because of that silly crap, but we did the show. But it wasn't embarrassing, but I don't have one, to be quite, if I'm honest. It's all embarrassing. I'm not curing cancer. I'm dancing around with a stick of wood. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you look at it with reality. So, but I love it. So it's rock and roll. It's only rock and roll.
Wow.
Oh, coming up. Describe your first day in LA.
You think he means the first time I ever went to LA?
Yeah, first time you ever went to LA.
Well, that's simple. The first time we showed up in Los Angeles, we drove in a van to get a record deal. A rental van we rented. Jesse picked me up in it. We immediately went to his friend's house. It had a garage out back, and he took a blowtorch, and we cut the back bumper off a rental van. And we put a trailer hitch on it and hooked our trailer to it and loaded 11 of us up in this van and drove from Atlanta to Los Angeles. Oh. There was so many people in the van, we had to thread 2 of us under the seats. And it was the most comfortable place. But if we'd have had a wreck, it would have took the cops. They'd had to hire Columbo to figure out how the hell that happened. We'd have been wild in there. But we showed up, and we came from Atlanta, where we partied. The party didn't start till 4 a.m. We down south. Wow! Right? Most of the clubs didn't close. At one club in Atlanta where we cut our teeth, Charlie Magruder's, the first set didn't start till midnight. Okay, and you played 345s. So then you went partying. So we pull up into Los Angeles at 11:30, straight to the Sunset Strip. Pulling this train, we couldn't find a soul. And there was this guy bent over on the sidewalk, and I had to unslide the door, and I said, "I'll ask him where's something going on. We wanted to get into this LA nightlife, right? What you see on TV." And I said, "Excuse me, sir," because he looked like an elder guy, and that's how I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he turned around with a screwdriver and said, "I'll stab you in the heart." And I said, "You'll try to stab me in the heart." But anyway, let's go. And we went to the hotel, and we didn't know we had landed in South Central. We found the cheapest piece of shit we could find. We came in, and the next morning we got up and we had $2,500 to last us weeks. We were on $5 a day allowance to eat on. And like Tom and Jimmy and a couple of us, if you smoke cigarettes and drink beer, that leaves you about a damn 75 cents to eat something called a hamburger. Then let's see, we stayed there till we ran out of money and then drove home and then got signed. So, but we learned really quick. Jesse threw our money away that night into a trash can that was surrounded by Constantine wire. And we got up the next morning and realized we're out here with no money. And the last thing we remember is he cleaned up the car. So I hoisted my brother over the wire and I followed him over. And we climbed up in there, and I remembered that I woke up and heard that trash can truck dump that thing. And I thought, we are screwed. We had borrowed that money from a club owner and worked our bus off $2,500. That's what we had to live on and continue our stay to try to get a record deal. And we looked down in there, and it was just wet, nasty, green can, nothing. And I thought, yeah. And we dropped down, and my brother jumped back up to take one more look. And I'm glad he did. It was stuck to the side in the envelope, all $2,500. Not a bit came out. Snatched that stuff off. And we lived in South Central for that whole time, $5 a day, and had a ball. We absolutely had a ball. We met some guys in gangs and that helped us out, and they kind of took us under their arms. I don't want to mention which ones as pets because they were guarding that area. And they had seen us come and go, and we just got to talking one day, and they took us on board as pets and gave us weed and came to the gigs. They came to some of the showcases, and they came from years on. 4 or 5 of them, they came to shows when we went back to LA. So we made a lot of friends. But when I wasn't impressed, but then again, I love it out there. You know, it's beautiful. It's what you make of it. I think I was I didn't know what to expect. So. But I love it. I lived there for 3 months not long ago because I'm dealing with a movie project I'm involved in, and I love it as far as restaurants. But you better bring your wallet with you. I'll tell you that.
Damn straight.
Oh yeah.
You know. Oh, and I'm saying this. Let me finish this one on the Uber. You call Uber in Los Angeles, you better be standing where you called from, because they appear right in front of you and they're ready to rock.
Shoot, if you call Uber in Jersey, you may get me. True story.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call Uber?
Damn. You know what? I was not even trying. What the fuck? Yeah, that was weird.
Okay.
I see questions on the right-hand corner down here.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Totally.
The closest you've come to wanting to use the chainsaw on tour.
We use it on or not. You mean to cut wood?
Or to cut a person.
I was going to say cut a band member.
I'm surprised Lorena Bobbitt didn't use the chainsaw.
You know, I'll tell you a funny thing. We had a company from the funny story about the chainsaw, and I'll leave that as it is. We called Johnson Red from Sweden, and they were really great for the first 10 or 15 years. And then we were approached by Steel, right. And they were going to do a whole ad campaign. They come out to film stuff, and we were all on board with Steel. They were coming to the table, man. And then, but there was one stipulation. to use the steel on stage and them to do a deal with us, Jesse had to wear that protective stuff, like that big helmet and that leather thing and them chaps. And we ran that damn thing at sound check. We did a sound check. And the closest we could get was about 15 minutes it took him to get that shit on. And we just couldn't make it work. We can kill a minute or two at the end of the night to bring the chainsaw out. But 20 minutes while he's trying to, and when he came out, he was walking like Frankenstein because he's kind of little, and we like, this ain't gonna work. So we went back, but he uses steel and we have them. They set up in a stand just like guitars. They're treated better than I am.
Gotta oil them, gas them up every night.
I don't think he's ever used it to cut real wood. What would you say the Southern Baptist sound is? I bet you're writing. None. But then I am a product of Southern Baptist. Yeah. You know, AC/DC affected our writing more than Southern Baptist.
Mhm.
And stuff like that, just the simplicity. You know, the first band I ever saw when I was a kid to put a period on the ZZ Top thing was ZZ Top.
Oh, wow.
I was 10 years old in a field. Because I told you my family was military, right? But I had an uncle that my dad and them, they weren't musical inclined to nothing. My daddy could take it or leave it. Right? So my old man, most musicians at that time when we grew up in the 70s, and I ain't even going to try, I'm going to be as real as possible, were gay. He's gay, he's gay. Y'all gay, y'all all gay. I said, you have to play guitar without having to be gay? Damn. He finally come around, but that's that old school Southern dude, right? And plus he was just messing with me, you know? So the only thing that affected us was the fact that I wanted to get the hell out of here to do what I wanted to do because we were considered, and we just played rock and roll. We were still the devil worshipers.
Right. Wow.
I didn't understand anything about anything, you know.
DK.
Wow.
Huh? But my grandmother, who was Southern Baptist to the core, she defended us. She told the whole church one time that, and you'll read this in my new book coming out this year. She told the whole church, y'all don't say nothing about them boys. If anybody's going to tell them anything about what they're doing, it's going to be me only. The rest of you can shut your damn mouths. And she would threaten them in church. She'd slap them on the face. Open-handed was her deal.
Oh, wow.
Just open-handed to make that crack sound, right? And she did it. So
What did the hand say to the face? Smash.
I stand-alone video. Where did y'all film it? In Atlanta, out in the country of Georgia. So if you see it, we blew up the van ourselves. We had our friend made a bomb. He's an 82nd Airborne. We took these cans and cut them in half and used fertilizer and kerosene, and we had got some cord and we run it in because our manager at that time had told us that when we got a record deal, we could get rid of that old van. Now the van you see in the I Stand Alone video that we jump out of, that was the last day we saw it. I took the tag off of it and we took the serial numbers off of it. We blew it up in that field. Okay.
Awesome.
With us in it, mind you, with its blasting with like regular what do they call it, the line you light with a lot of like you see on cartoons, and jumped out. But now that van had the crabs inside of it, and not the kind you eat neither. The bed and carpet had the crabs in it, so we finally got rid of that thing. But we did it on. But Jesse had told us that he knew the guy said we could do it out there on that land. And as we did it and we're driving off after the footage was shot, this old man in a truck came in with his mouth gaped up and looking at us like, he thought there was a dead body in it. We just drove off. But in Georgia, we just took off down the road and picked places to do it. We didn't have no money. That thing cost us $15,000. We begged for it. When we got through with that weekend, we owed them over $1 million because of lawsuits for filming it that we don't have privy to yet. Because Jesse went into a Longhorn Steakhouse and cut a table in half and people jumped out the window. So we had to pay for all of that. We had no idea. The film crew told us they had permission, but it fell on us. So the story I tell you boys, we don't have enough time.
Somebody lied.
Wah, wah.
So after that episode, we didn't have a choice but to do something. We were so far in the deficit. It was onward and upward. You can't get no lower.
Wow. Angel, any other questions from anybody?
No, I remember that part of the video, and I was like Beavis and Butthead. I was like, they blew up the van, fire.
Now you've seen us on the Squidbillies, hadn't you?
Yes.
You know the Squidbillies episode we were on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know that cartoon?
Yeah.
Squidbillies. Yeah, that was fun to do. We were offered more roles, more time, but it's a time-consuming thing, and people don't understand how much money there's not in some of this stuff. We can't stop touring and doing the things we do. Some things are not worth it. It's kind of like we don't do a lot of festivals because it looks good on paper. And there's a lot of things go with it. People don't realize unless you're one of the top 3 bands at the festival, and 9 times out of 10, it's the first 2, you're not really getting paid nothing. And then you're fighting with everybody else all day. Every road crew's fighting for space. Folks, that junk here, we don't play well like that. We're too old and ornery and set in our ways. And we use our gear and we set it up, and that's that. And also another stipulation people don't know, most of these kind of things with festivals, you can't play sometimes a couple of months before and after in a 150-mile radius.
Yeah.
You know how many shows or 2 or 3, 4, it's sometimes maybe 500-mile radius. You never know.
Yeah.
Heck, we can play 50 shows in that area in that time, make 10 times as much money. It looks good on paper. It don't really accomplish nothing unless you're the big boy.
Yeah.
And then you're playing a gig for a shitload of money. So it's just another.
Those radius clauses can be insanely weird.
Yeah, we don't play with them. We have to do a lot of them for these big back events, but we do a lot of shaving off and try to get it as close to something we can manage as possible. But yeah, when you've got a big crowd coming and stuff, they don't want any competition with it. And then what makes matters worse is on the festivals or even opening for somebody, if you're not the headliner, you only can sell one shirt. And you can only sell that one shirt for the cheapest price to their cheapest. You can't you can't undermark the headliner, and you're only selling one item. So it's all, and then of course the promoter wants his 25% of that. So I know it's good, but I do love it, and you've just figured it out,
Oh yeah. I mean, speaking of festivals, the one and only time that I've gotten to see you guys is actually at the M3 festival back in 2013.
I think we're on a side kind of stage thing, right?
Yeah, you were on the stage, like kind of like in the woods, kind of thing. Yeah.
They never invited us back. I'm not sure what happened.
Honestly, I don't understand why. I mean, myself, Steve, Angel, we all frequent that festival. I've never really understood there. And you're not the only band. Like, I think that same year, if I remember correctly, is also the one and only time I've ever seen King's X. And they've never gone like back onto the show. And there's like, but every now and then, like there's like a few bands that like, maybe they've played M3 a couple of times, but they'll be like really, really like, spaced out. In fact, they had been a festival for 13 years. By the time I finally got the one band that I love that I've been bitching about getting on the festival that I told everybody would kill it and they were great, and that's Lizzie Borden, because I'm a really huge Lizzie Borden fan.
Wow.
And I know what a great show that they put on. And myself, Angel, and Steve, we got to interview Lizzie and stuff like that. And like, it was definitely like a cool thing to get to see him for sure. But yeah, it's kind of weird with festivals like that. But yeah, that was my one and only time seeing Jackyl so far. But that's also one of the reasons why when Steve was like, "Hey, they're coming to Maryland," I was like, "Sounds like a good time to break that slump."
Dude, you hadn't seen us then. That was until you see us on our night, we control the whole thing. And But as much as I say they hadn't invited us back, 9 times out of 10, we're looking at each other going, why are we here in the first place? A lot of that was doing promoters. We didn't understand how we kind of fit in because we didn't really, our first record, we were more in the grunge. We should have sold nearer because we came out the same as Nirvana.
Yeah.
We're exactly the same time, and we've got a record that kind of sounds like something maybe a little from the 80s or 70s. We just do what we do. That was the one decision we made, and I like to pass on to everybody. The only chance you got in life is to do what you do honestly. And if it flows out, and people's going to like it if they ain't. And I say this to hell with people, just do what makes you happy. And I know everybody's got to make a living. You got some artists say, do it for yourself. You got some that make money going, you got to write for the people. We found you got to kind of balance the two. It's kind of what it is. And it's not an exact science, that's for damn sure.
Absolutely, for sure. So, and like a fun question, Jeff, that I wanted to ask you is like based off your website. I wanted to hear how how Worley the Pirate became a thing.
My art website.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now me and my brother's great grandfather 5 times back is Richard Worley, the pirate that flew and drew the first Jolly Roger.
Oh, okay. That's where the skull and crossbones comes from.
Too. That's our grandfather. 5 times back, whatever that note. We've done all the research. My mom took us out for that, and then we've known it for years. And then I just on my art site and in my writings, and also I have my solo record me and my brother did that you can get on YouTube or you can Spotify. It's called Worley the Pirate. And I just thought it was cool. And give old time granddad and flying the first Jolly Roger. He was only a pirate for 3 weeks, so he got his brains blown out in Charleston Harbor.
Oh, geez.
But that being said, I talked to my lawyer. I said, can we retroactively sue for all the people that's used the skull and crossbones? And he's like, I wish we could.
Yeah.
That's we could too, But yeah, so I took that, and then my art is, I never in a million years, I've done every bathroom and dressing room in the world, okay, of that dumb shit that I sell. And I can only really paint from the waist down. I can paint 2 things good. Weird things from the waist down. I'm not really good on from the waist up. And Christmas trees. Ask me why, I don't know. And then for years I messed with it. And I have an art studio at my house, right where my recording studio is. And my son and my wife finally, about 5-6 years ago, finally come and said, my son said, Dad, you've got to do a site. And we're getting ready to revamp the whole thing because I have new paintings and I've updated it. But what I did for fun turned into something that not only therapeutic, as they say, but like I said, I've always drew and painted and done dumb stuff. My real art is a little more X-rated. Moniker Vincent Van Goober, as my guitar tech gave me. Not Vincent Van Goober. And I have had to wait a long 20 years before I can let it out onto the world, because my daughter just turned 20. And I'm sure as shit wasn't going to do none of these paintings until but it's a whole other thing. It's kind of not autoerotic. It's just weird, funny, semi-X-rated paintings.
Just kind of somewhat adult.
Old hustler type looking crap. It's just more stupid by not today's standards than it is, And it just got, I have some paintings that's like, it looks just like NASA, except for the Saturn V is a penis.
Nice.
And it's decked out with USA on the side and the white, stupid junk like that. But I promised myself until my daughter, because there's only boys in the Worley family, until Emma got a certain age, and she already knows, but I told her, I said, I'm not going to, I just keep it for fun. And then every now and then out on the road, I will do something in the back of the bus, and I'll either pin it on a truck stop, the bulletin board with the business cards.
Yeah.
Go in there and I'll stamp something, bait to that, and walk out. people don't know what they got, if it ever matters.
Sure.
But I'll drop it. One time I laid one on this guy that was passed out drunk on the side of the road. You never know what you're gonna roll up with, right? I just said, there you go, and messed with that. I don't know. You do what amuses you,
Absolutely, for sure. I can definitely appreciate what you were talking about with your great grandfather, when it comes to like, the pirate aspect. Because like me, I'm originally from Salem, Massachusetts, and my mom, same as your family, is very good at, looking up family history and doing research. And it turns out that my great grandfather, back to the Salem witch trials, was actually the last person actually hung in the Salem witch trials.
Wow.
So, my great grandfather was Samuel Wardwell, and when my mom discovered this, she's like, "That's one of the reasons you've got to be so attached to Salem, because it's just my favorite place in the world." And I ended up because I also get like homesick really easily, because I love going up there and just spending time up in New England and walking around my old little town. That at one point I came back from a little trip and I was just kind of feeling a certain way, and I was like, and I called up my artist and I was like, this is what I need you to do, because I need you to tattoo my hand. And I was like, I need you to design me like a good looking kind of sexy pinup style witch riding a broom and holding a noose for the Salem witch trials. And I was like, Matt, this is up to you. This is your vision. The only thing I need it to fit on my hand. Because that's where I want it.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah. So
it goes to, like you're talking about your grandfather. How many years ago was that? 300?
Yeah. So that would have been 1692.
Yeah, something that it shows you too, and it kind of brings in the aspect of no matter if you're what generation you're born. If you look at the history of some of these guys, our ancestors, tomorrow ain't looking too bad, no matter how bad it is right now this second.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I'm sure tomorrow some bullshit will annoy me, but getting hung tomorrow is about the narrowly on my list down at the house. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, or getting blown up by a cannonball. But, my grandfather, probably like yours, down to the last second was defiant. Right. So Richard Worley went straight for him. He was so pissed. It's like, Jack Black in Mars Attacks.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's a Worley for you. We just run straight in, get a shot, is over.
No, definitely, for sure. And before I kick it back up to Angel, when you look at Jackyl now versus Jackyl when you guys started, and you guys have been absolutely completely unapologetic about everything that you've done in your careers and exactly the vision and the execution that you've had for Jackyl. But how have you seen Jackyl from then until now, between just songwriting, maturing, but also just over this last 30 plus years?
I'll tell you that, like I keep referring back to my kids and in bands and younger people, and even guys that's our age, my age, first off, I've seen the roller coaster. It's like life. You never know. For instance, we've been up and down and up and down. And just when you think it's over, if you give it 5 more minutes and you're putting out against the world everything you got, at that last second when you think it's over, bam, something happens, right? Yeah. And that's happened to us so much, but it's a Harvard education, if that's even worth saying. Now it's MIT. I could be on top of everything we've learned to songwriting, recording, everything musical. I could probably be a psychologist now. I never went to college for it. I've met every person of every ilk. I've talked to I've met more people across vast spectrums of the world and the United States and got to know them, and we're all so similar in so many ways, and in some ways drastically different, you know. But I see that in my family. Me and my brother. Okay, it's like the Van Halen story or the Kinks. I've been asked this: how do you get along with your brother on the road? You hear these fights. We get along perfectly on the road because our mission is like a military mission. It's the same objective every day: get up, kick ass, get paid, go on. Right now, when we get home, because he lives right behind me down in his land, right down here, we got a problem constantly. His dogs is up here chasing some of my stuff. All right. One of the kids left the studio door wide ace open. And like my daddy used to say, I ain't heating the whole county, you know, with the heater air on, with the door open, you know. That's the kind of stuff we deal with. So it's regular kind of thing, you know. People, you know, but we've learned a lot, and I think now it may change. Nothing's forever. Right now, I've settled back into this was exactly what I was supposed to be doing at this point in life. Mm-hmm. Now, about 20 years ago, I can tell you at certain times, or there's been certain times where I said, God damn, I'd be better off working the damn door at Lowe's, at Walmart. Right? You know, you at least make some money. I know guys that made more money and had a better life working a regular job than they did making big money in one big lump sum. Some people's not built for that kind of stuff. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, it's like the lottery winner. Most of them end up, you know, $10 million 2 months later, dead, broken, or dead, period. Right? It's just some people are not built for that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, it's been my life, as it were. So, you know, you can look back on it. That's kind of what made me write the new book about my family more than music. This life in music has made me realize the importance of that part of it. You know, when you blast out of childhood or in your teenage years trying to be in a band, you're not looking back. Mm-hmm. Okay. Me writing my new book is looking back on that and how it mattered as much or more than ever practicing the guitar or a note or learning to write a song or anything. That's one thing, you know, but it's like a cake. You know, you decorate a cake, you build a cake. Cake's got to taste good and everything, but those ingredients had to get to the store. They had to get to your house. There's more involved than just thinking something's going to happen. That's my earlier years that I was really involved. And I didn't know it till now. So, and Jackyl made that happen. And I can say this, everything that happened in my life, from meeting my wife to everything I own, it was from the band. It hands down, you know.
Absolutely, man, for sure. Metal Summoners, we just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Jeff has been incredibly gracious with his time. We're going to rock out with him for a few more minutes longer, but it is going to be last call for alcohol. We want to show Jeff the utmost respect for his evening, for giving us so much of his time, but it is going to be last call for alcohol. So any final questions, comments, anything that you want to ask Jeff about Jackyl, the history of the band, or anything that Jeff's doing personally, now is going to be the time to get them into the comments so that way Angel sees them and we can get your question answered. So just a reminder that it is that time, my friends. Jeff, final question in this segment for me before I kick it over to Angel to clear the board and do our final go round, just because this song is just so much fun and I love it to death, and I have to ask you about it. Can you just tell me about how the writing and everything came together for the song My Moonshine Kicks Your Cocaine's Ass?
Oh, I will give 100. Are we still good?
Totally good.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'll give that total 100% to Jesse.
Gotcha.
And that's Jesse's baby. And he likes to spring. He's not the parts guy. Now we deconstruct and we put everybody, you know, we do our thing. Mm-hmm. But he's the guy that shows up with, listen to this, dang, 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 and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna do this. You know, it is, and he'll demo it, and then we'll play it, and he expects me to play it right. The first second he shows me the stupid ass song, right? Mm-hmm. And he, do that, do this. I was like, okay, we have this whole charade, this dance, right? Mm-hmm. But that's his baby, and that's one of them I've not even. I know you've heard this of artists over the years, and it sounds flippant. And I'm going to answer you as honest as I can. I don't have a clue what the hell he's talking about in that song.
No problem.
Okay, it just sat. We was like, "That's cool as shit. Let's do it." And we just went, and people love it and they chant it because it's like you got two things in it that fuck you up: cocaine and moonshine. So,
oh yeah, well, as a longtime fan of that song, ever since the Dynamite record came out and I heard it, because the funny thing is I remember Jesse making an appearance on that metal show to talk about that record. But I still listen to that song to this day. I still love it as much now as I ever did. And there's still parts of that song when he's singing that I still would not be able to recite because I really don't know what he said.
oh, you mean lyrically?
Lyrically. Because there's parts that are just like they're really fast and they're just like,
yeah. Thing about it for me too, at night when we play it, there's my side fill, and he's screaming at about 150 dB, right? I could probably just dissect it, but he's real witty and real smart with those lyrics.
yeah.
And that's why I don't really question, because we try to be a fun AC/DC, for lack of a better word, type band where we just keep it loose. We're not doing a whole political thing.
Yeah.
You know, we got our own personal views. That's for the house. That's not what we do. We don't come to the birthday party to do that. People used to, we've got what would have been called a slot maybe over the years as a glorified garage band. You damn right that's what we are. Glorified to the hilt. We the band you wanted to party. Okay, that's what we do. If you want to get lectured to or something, it's all great. I like all kinds of stuff. That's not our vibe, and that's all we can do. So anything we'd be posing, you see. Yeah. Posing to me is not doing exactly what comes out of me, good or bad. You know what I mean? And that's how we've always played it, and that's the honesty part of it. You know, we just stay in our lane and bounce back to his lyrics. You know, he's so good. See, now how we got in a band together, and I'll sew that up on this, is he was in another band that was one of our favorite bands called PG-13. We were Jackyl, as it were, but we had a singer that was okay. But we knew Jesse was our guy. We had just met him, and we'd go see them. They were kind of above us a little bit. He was younger, but his guys were a little bit older. And they were a little bit more top 40-ish. We were down in the punk club playing damn Sex Pistols and Sabbath and Priest and just all this stuff that you didn't get played at the big club in those days, in the 80s and 90s. They had to be top 40 a little bit, you know. But they did play 3 songs. They did a version of I Stand Alone, Dirty Little Mind, and She Loves My Cock off the first record. So when that band broke up and Jesse and Nigel, his son, was born, he went to run in a bar, figuring out what he was going to do next, and he booked us as the first band at the bar he was running. So when we got in there and we started playing his bar on our monthly cycle, a couple months, we asked him about those 3 songs, and he said play them, and so he gave us a tape and we played them, and they ended up on the record. Then he joined the band, and the rest was history on that.
No, absolutely, for sure. Sorry, baby. Absolutely, for sure. Angel, let me kick it back up to you, man, and let us take away this final segment, my friend.
Man, definitely want to talk about your cookbook. How did that come together? And definitely plan to get it because I got to eat healthier at my age.
Oh yeah, Dog Eat Dog, a rock star's guide to a healthy life while being the life of the party.
5.0 review on Amazon.
Right. On Amazon. For now. They'll be on my, you can get it at the Jackyl website too. But yeah, me and Roman did that because we cook on the bus. We don't eat catering. We cook. We're masters with a crock pot or a slow cooker, and we put all that stuff on our bus. And we just decided over the years that, look, man, we've done all this. We do our thing. Let's make us a little, guide to show people what we really do. It ain't what people think. We just don't jump off the bus and hit catering,
Right.
And we all keep a pretty strict diet, give or take. But yeah, so that's how we did that. And then we started putting weird stuff in it on top of the recipes, food additives, and you just go through that whole thing. It's full of stuff. Our favorite, before I quit drinking, my favorite wines and restaurants, and we just made a little thing. I always thought it was cool. So we put the time in. It took a minute on that though. When you start doing that, it's a little bit different than writing a regular book. You start talking about recipes. We had to research everything and make everything on the bus to make sure we wasn't feeding nobody no crap. Just make it look good on paper. It had to be something we were really into. You know what I mean? So we put the time in, and we were cooking every day for about 3 or 4 months, just writing it on the bus, tasting stuff. So it was a trip doing that thing.
Is it easier now to eat healthy on the road, or is it still the same compared to when you first started?
We've always kind of been that way because when we signed with Given, we had to stay in shape. It was part of the deal. Yeah, you couldn't, we got signed, like I said, by John Colodner, who signed Aerosmith. You got to look like them, right? So we've always, but for me, on the road, I have to be through eating at 3 o'clock in the daytime to play that show at night, 2 hours. So it works for me as a workout program on the road because I cannot play with any food in my belly. I have to be done by 3 o'clock in the daytime. And so I look out on that. And then by the time the show's over, I'm too hyped up, too tired. So you kind of on a diet plan just being on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just my last question: any chance for fans overseas to get a dose of Jackyl?
I didn't get that part. I'm sorry.
Any chance for the fans over in the UK and Europe to get their dose of Jackyl?
We're constantly on that, man. It's just us making it sense money-wise.
Right.
It's not worth us to go over there if we can't make it money-wise. Now, we're talking about it, and we've been. It's been a minute, and we got Canadian dates coming up. That's not necessarily overseas. But, it's always, if it ever presents itself in a form we can deal with, and we know we're not going to get killed, to be playing, being Southern boys, we're going. We don't steer easy, though. I'm just saying, it's just got to make sense.
Right.
But we've been able to do our thing over here and fill an entire Europe for the last at least 7 or 8 years and not even really think about it, But I get it. We love to do it. We keep playing. It's just, that's a business thing more than anything.
Yeah, like I said, we all definitely get that because we know that tours were canceled because of the high cost of everything over there, and vice versa. Actually, had to cancel U.S. dates.
Yeah, well, with us, and I think it might be Jesse as a saying. If we don't do rental gear, it is very, very slow. It might be twice a year, and it better be a big payday. We don't do rental. We carry our equipment. Even if we fly, it's driving under the plane. Okay? And so Jesse's saying is, we could be driving Lamborghinis if we didn't carry that damn trailer and truck of crap everywhere we go. Right? It costs a fortune. But we want to put on the same quality show every night. These rental gigs is people's rental. And my rig is my rig. It's got me wrote all over it, and nothing can match it. And I just don't want to get through the gig. I want to do my art, which is holding my guitar and deliver to people that pay. And you can't do it without my stuff. So it costs a fortune. You're right.
Yeah, Jay, I'm gonna kick it right back up to you. That was my final question.
Absolutely, for sure. Jeff, we really, really appreciate you. And I just got one more for you because Angel and I are also gear nerds and we like to hear about it. What do you play? Like, what's your rig rundown when you're performing on stage with Jackyl?
Well, if you go up on the Facebook, you'll see I have 2 cabinets on my side. They're 4x8, which means they're 8. It's a 4x12, but it's 4x8. There's 2 of them. At one time, they were white, and they were Eddie Van Halen's. If you see the Panama video with the big white speakers,
yeah,
we have all of that. We used it for years. We got it the minute he went to something else. They started making the 5150s, and so my live rig is actually the bottom cabinet I used was the one he used on stage. It's got his writing in it, different speakers, and the top one is my backup. I don't use it, but it's the one he used to hear jump through it. Okay, so those are iconic. Those should be in Smithsonian. I've used them since the day that he got rid of them. Okay, let's see, and then my amps are 5150s. Now in my studio, I have 5150s that Ted Nugent gave me from the story I told you when we first recorded in Los Angeles.
Yep,
he was doing them Yankees. Eddie had sent him over about 8 heads of the first probably 20. I asked Ted, could I borrow a couple of them to record the first Jackyl record? He said yes. When we got through, I went down and asked Ted, I said, do you want these back? He said, no, I ain't paying for them. Keep them. They're sitting in my studio. They're one of the, I'm going to say they're probably 2 of the first 20 to 25 ever made. And nobody really knows much of this. But yes, on the back of my cabinets had that Van Halen thing for years. It's wore off now. I've used them for 30-something years. Eddie used them for 10. So, yep, it's Eddie Van Halen's old stuff. And not that I play like that, but it's just this tone deal. You play like you play. Tone's different. I always enjoyed that flat, in your face. So in 5150s, and my stuff is pretty much custom shop. Same as he used. I don't use a lot of effects with Jackyl. I have one pedal, and it's just all hell broke loose. It just takes everything that's going on up, right? And then I do Dean Guitars Custom Shop. They make my stuff. I've been with them for about 14 years. Before Dean,
you said Dean Guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
They build my stuff in the custom shop. I was never going to play anything but my Les Paul. And then I was in Tampa and went to the factory and met the custom shop guys, and one thing led to another, and 14 years down the road. And Futon Company sets me up. If you ever heard of them, they're custom. They're the AMG. What AMG is to Mercedes, these guys are the guitars with the Floyds and his stuff. It's titanium, Futon. And other than that, a wireless, and I plug in and cut on 10 and go.
Nice.
My ring rundown is literally 5 minutes. If it takes that long, there you go. It's on 10. We go. EMG pickups, and then that's pretty simple.
That's killer for sure. Hell yeah, brother. Well, Jeff, we really can't appreciate you enough, man. I mean, we pushed nearly 2 hours that felt like 20 minutes, and it is our pleasure that you gave us so much time, and we're so courteous to coming on the show and rocking out. And the thing that's always the most important to myself, to Angel and Steve, is that you had a good time. You enjoyed yourself, like you felt respected, and you liked the questions that were that you were asked.
Yeah, man, I had a great time. It was a ball. What happened to Steve? I don't see him no more.
Oh, he said his phone died, so you'll have to rip on him a little bit about that.
Yeah. His fiance,
he wasn't fully loaded. I'm sorry, fully charged.
Enough of that foolishness. No, guys, I have a ball. Anytime, call me anytime.
Absolutely.
Any of y'all tell Steve, any show, he's got my cell phone number. I'll hook y'all up, whoever you want to bring, anywhere we're at.
Yes.
Sounds awesome. Appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. We appreciate all of you guys rocking out with us. Mr. Bruno, we see you popping in there on YouTube. Thank you so much for checking in and saying what's up to the guys and saying what's up to me and Angel. It's absolutely a great one. DK, Brian, we appreciate all of you guys getting involved tonight. You guys rock. Make sure that you're following Jeff and Jackyl on everything that they've got going on. They're going to be hitting the road very, very soon, just like Jeff had already talked about, with shows all the way up until Santa Claus comes to town. So definitely make sure that you guys are checking that out. When it comes to the Metal Summit, make sure that you guys are following the Metal Summit on Facebook and YouTube. Those are the 2 most important pages, because that's where the interviews are live at. It's also important to follow us on Instagram, because that's where a lot of our guest announcements come out first. So it's always a nice page to make sure that you're following. When it comes to Angel, you can find him at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. He also has a personal page under his name on Facebook. Psycho Steve, he can be found at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. You can also find him at psychostevepresents.com. And for myself, you can find me on Instagram at salem.vampire. I also have that page under Facebook as well, and I have a personal page as well. But thank you guys all so much for rocking out with us and showing Jeff so much courtesy, just as much courtesy back to him as he showed myself, Angel, and Steve for coming on the show. And we look forward to having him back on and having some more fun. Metal Summoners, take care, be good to each other. Guest announcement over the weekend for next week's episode. It's going to be another great one. We're bringing back an alumni to talk about the new album that he's got coming out. That's the hint that you get, and we'll see you soon. Be good, take care, be good to each other. Keep listening to music. Rock you, roll you, Jackyl you off, and we will see you guys next time. Take care, be good. As